Perek Aleph of Shmuel Aleph deals with the birth of Shmuel Hanavi. Eli, at this point in time, was the Kohen Hagadol, and it was due to Chana's intercession that she was granted a child, whom she dedicated to the service of the Mishkan. From about the middle of Perek Bet through to Perek Daled, the text records the end days of Shiloh. In doing so, we focus upon the beginning of Eli's reign and the final years. We are told that Ubnei Eli b'nei Belial, Eli had installed his two sons, CHOFNI and PINCHAS, as head Kohanim, charged with the day-to-day activities of the Mishkan. The text informs us that unfortunately, the two sons of Eli were inherently wicked, Lo yadu et Hashem, for which a literal translation is they did not know of God, were not concerned about Kedusha matters, were more concerned about their own personal needs, as demonstrated in subsequent pasukim. There was an issue of greed, to which the Chumash testifies, Vatehi chatat hana'arim gedola ma'od, their sin was immense before God. Ki ni'atzu hanashim et minchat Hashem. These Na'arim, Chofni and Pinchas, desecrated the korbanot that were brought as offerings to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The text goes on to inform us he was zaken ma'od, quite elderly. V'shama et kol asher ya'asun banav l'chol Yisrael. He certainly was aware of what his sons were doing. That ve'et asher yishkevun et hanashim, taken literally, they forced themselves upon the women, Sovot Petach Ohel Moed, who had assembled at the entrance to the Ohel Moed to bring their korbanot. Others interpret this statement euphemistically. Either way, Chofni and Pinchas had taken control over the activities of the Mishkan, treating it as a private family enterprise for wealth accumulation. While the communication between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe Rabbeinu was a common occurrence, once they crossed the Jordan, certainly in the period following the move from Gilgal to Shiloh, God did not communicate with anybody in the Jewish camp until a sequence of events recorded in Perek Gimel of Shmuel Aleph. Out of the blue, God comes to Shmuel and tells him that Hini anochi oseh davar b'Yisrael. I am on the verge of doing something, asher kol shma'o, that will be so overwhelming that anybody who hears what I'm about to do, tzitzilena, from the word tziltzul, to ring, shtei ozanav, his two ears will ring in fear and trepidation of what is about to happen. And then God tells Shmuel to inform Eli, Ki shofet ani et beito ad olam ba'avana sheyada. I am about to judge his entire family in perpetuity on account of the sin that he knew about, v'lo ki habam, and did not rebuke them. Four things happened on or around the 10th of Iyar 2870. The first, a major defeat at the hands of the Philistines. And in the process, the Aron HaKodesh was captured and kept by the Philistines for a period of 7 months. And eventually, they felt that it was in their interest to hand it back to the Bnei Yisrael. The third event was the death of Chofni and Pinchas. They were killed by the Philistines in the above-mentioned war. And finally, when a messenger returned from the battlefield and informed Eli of the defeat, the capture, and the death of his two sons, he accidentally fell backwards, possibly broke his neck, and died. An argument could be made that of these four items, the capture of the Aron by the Philistines would be the overwhelming event that God referred to in his communication with Shmuel, an event that kol shma'o, anybody who hears of it, would cause a tzitzilena shtei oznav, a throbbing, migraine-like pain in the head. And furthermore, the follow-on to the 10th of Iyar 2870 was the closure of the encampment at Shiloh and the eventual move of the Mishkan to Nov. Which brings us back to the point from which we departed, the superfluous statement that Churban Bet HaMikdash number 1 and number 2 came about al avonatehem shel Yisrael, on account of the sins, the collective responsibility for the breaking of the covenantal agreement by Am Yisrael.